She entered the hospital carrying a bundle of gifts and a deed of generosity that would eternally alter people's lives, but without any cameras or an entourage. The day was supposed to be like any other routine checkup, comforting children, and the daily struggle to find smiles in difficult circumstances. But then something extraordinary happened. A sleek black car pulled up to the hospital entrance, and out stepped Melania Trump, a well-known figure in the world, but she was alone without an entourage of reporters. The morning was calm but cold, with frost decorating the windows of St. Joseph's Children's Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. Inside, the halls were quiet save for the occasional sound of a nurse's shoes tapping the polished floor or a flurry of cameras flashing. The hospital personnel was taken aback at first, but they immediately adapted as she calmly entered. However, she walked with a purpose, holding colorful, well-wrapped parcels in her arms that were carefully tied with satin ribbons. There was a tangible sense of astonishment, and rumors that she was here quickly circulated. As they looked down the hallway, one nurse whispered to another. Melanie approached the reception desk with a look of quiet determination instead of the polished, detached smile that is frequently seen in public appearances. She said, "I'd like to visit the children today. I have some gifts for them." There was no press release or preamble, just Melanie's gifts and a sudden act of generosity that astounded the staff. They led her to the pediatric unit, where the day was about to take a dramatic turn. As Melania Trump entered the brightly decorated pediatric ward, the atmosphere changed. Nurses paused their rounds, their expressions a mixture of cautious excitement and curiosity, and parents looked up from their seats, unsure if they should approach. The children, many too young to fully understand who she was, watched with wide eyes, more enthralled by the colorful packages in her arms than the person carrying them. The ward was alive with happy murals painted along the walls. This is where the story really starts. Rainbows, happy suns, and cheerful animals could be seen everywhere. But there was also a sense of melancholy and unsaid burden that every parent and child bears when dealing with difficulties that nobody should have to face. Melanie appeared to notice this right away, as evidenced by her eyes relaxing as she went from room to room. Her first stop was a 7-year-old boy named Jack, whose parents were standing protectively by his side, their cheeks showing signs of tiredness. Jack had recently undergone surgery for a heart issue. Melanie crouched next to Jack's bed, her towering frame nearly vanishing as she leaned down to say, "Hello, Jack," in a soft voice that was surprisingly warm. "I brought something for you." Jack's little fingers tentatively extended out as she took a box wrapped in bright red paper from the top of her stack, and as he broke through the wrapping, his eyes brightened. It was a model airplane kit, something he had mentioned to his nurses weeks prior. His parents looked at each other, their faces softening with appreciation. She didn't stay long, allowing Jack to enjoy his gift before moving on to the next room. Each child's response varied, some shy, some excited, but the pattern was the same. Genuine smiles, laughter, and a release of the tension that frequently pervaded the ward. For the hospital staff, it was a moment of wonder. How does she is aware of what every child would enjoy? A nurse whispered to a co-worker, but the response was unclear. However, it was clear that these presents weren't generic or hurriedly selected. Rather, they felt personal, almost as if someone had taken the time to hear these kids' silent prayers. The moment Melania entered Olivia's room, a 9-year-old girl with leukemia, the whispers were finally silenced. The visit would leave an enduring impression on everyone who saw it, but what transpired next, as one nurse would later recall, was something none of us could have anticipated. Her interaction with Olivia would be unlike any other that day. Quieter than the others, Olivia's room was at the end of the hallway, and she had a pale blue scarf over her head, and she was propped up on pillows, with a little stack of sketchbooks neatly arranged on the side table next her bed. Her weak body was evidence of the several months of therapy she had received, but despite everything, there was still a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Melanie came in with the same kind disposition that she had maintained throughout the ward. Olivia glanced up as her fingers naturally curled around the pencil she was using to draw a tiny flower on a page's corner. "Hello," Olivia Melanie said. "I hear you're quite the artist," in a softer-than-normal voice. Olivia's lips formed a tiny, wary smile. She gave a nod but remained silent. Her gaze shifted between Melanie and the colorfully wrapped parcel she was holding, as if she was having trouble accepting that this was actually happening. Melanie positioned one of the packages in Olivia's lap, while she was seated on the edge of the bed. The lavender paper with silver stars was delicately wrapped in a ribbon, which Olivia took her time untying. Inside was a wooden box with her name engraved on the lid, which she opened to reveal a variety of professional art supplies, including paints, brushes, pencils, and a palette. Olivia's voice was barely heard as she muttered, "This is for me." Melanie nodded and grinned. "It's all yours. I've heard you hope to pursue an artistic career someday. You deserve the best." Olivia's eyes filled with tears, but instead of crying, she reached out and held the box to her chest as if it were the most valuable item she had ever owned. For a brief moment, the only sound in the room was the gentle rustle of the ribbon as it dropped to the floor, and the nurses at the door exchanged looks, their own eyes full of emotion. Olivia's mother, who was sitting in the corner, silently wiped away a tear and thanked Melanie. But Melanie wasn't finished going into her coat pocket. Her voice was too slurred to speak out loud. She produced a tiny card and gave it to Olivia, explaining that it was for the art therapy program, and that she had donated to it to give you and the other kids even more chances to create art, which is a powerful thing that can sometimes heal in ways that words cannot. Olivia looked at the card and then back at Melanie, but she didn't say anything because the gratitude in her eyes spoke louder than words could. As Melanie got up to go, she gave Olivia one last look and smiled and said, "Keep drawing. The world needs more artists like you." Olivia smiled broadly as she held up her sketchbook, and the moment lasted with everyone who saw it. Later, a nurse said that what really impressed her was not just the present, but also the way she made Olivia feel important. Nobody can place a value on that. And as Melanie left that room, another staff member mentioned that we realized the kindness she had left behind was only getting started. Word of Melanie's visit spread throughout the hospital, with staff whispering in the hallways, parents exchanging glances, and kids peeking out of their rooms to see the woman who had made their day a little more magical. However, Melanie wasn't there for attention. She was solely focused on the kids, making sure that every moment she spent with them was sincere and meaningful. During their shift change, nurses congregated in the hospital's break room to discuss what they had observed. When the hospital's director called a meeting later that day, Melanie left behind more than just gifts. She donated $50,000 specifically for the hospital's art therapy program, which had always struggled with funding, and was now able to purchase new materials, hire additional staff, and expand its reach to more children. One of them, a young nurse named Brittany, wiped tears from her cheeks as she recalled the moment Melanie handed Olivia the art supplies. She said it was a reminder that these kids' dreams still matter despite everything they are going through. Among the parents present at the time of the announcement was Olivia's mother, who stood in the rear of the room. "It's not just about my daughter," she said, her voice shaking, clutching her purse as tears ran down her cheeks. "It's about all the kids here. This will give them hope, and when you're in a place like this, hope is everything." Over the course of the following few weeks, the program flourished, and kids who had never held a paintbrush before started producing colorful, expressive artwork that adorned the hospital walls. The ward's once subdued hues were now vibrant, serving as a striking example of the strength of imagination and the kindness of one unexpected guest. Using her new tools, Olivia's artwork in particular started to draw notice from everyone. One day, as she was finishing touches, she painted a mural in the corner of her room, depicting a giant tree with wide branches, each leaf symbolizing a dream. Nurses, physicians, and patients came to view it, marveling at the depth of emotion in her work. In a sense, Melanie's generosity had planted that tree, and each branch and leaf was a reflection of the hope she had sparked. Olivia turned to her mother and said, "When I'm better, I want to paint something even bigger, something the whole hospital can see." Her mother grinned and squeezed Olivia's hand. "You will, sweetheart. she said. Not only in Olivia, but in every person who passed through those corridors. Nobody anticipated how widespread this act of generosity would end up being. Despite her quiet departure, a doctor later stated that it was only the beginning. The story of Melanie's visit didn't stay a secret for long. It wasn't Melanie who spoke about it. Rather, it was the staff and families at St. Joseph's who started talking about it after she left the hospital with little fanfare, slipping back into her car and heading to her next destination. The first spark was when a nurse shared a picture of Olivia's mural on social media with the caption, "This is what hope looks like for a young girl with leukemia who is motivated by the generosity of a stranger. We appreciate Miss Trump reminding us of the power of compassion." The post immediately became popular, reaching well beyond the neighborhood before being picked up by major news agencies. Melania Trump's humble visit transforms lives at St. Joseph's Hospital, and the First Lady's kindness supports an art therapy program for ill children, were among the headlines. The overwhelming majority of the coverage was favorable, emphasizing Melanie's action's significant effects rather than her celebrity status. With images of the colorful trees showing up in news reports, articles, and even online art forums, Olivia's artwork came to represent the narrative. It's not just a painting. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reporter who subsequently visited the hospital noted, regarding the impact of a single act of kindness. But the kids were more thrilled about their expanding art therapy sessions than everyone else was about the hospital's media attention. In particular, Olivia found herself in the spotlight due to her talent rather than her illness. Her paintings and sketches served as an inspiration for the other children, who started making their own works with renewed self-assurance. Meanwhile, Olivia's mother found it difficult to express her gratitude, saying in a local news interview that she didn't simply stop by and go. No amount of medication can provide these children the opportunity to feel normal, dream, and express themselves like she did. As the news spread, it reached unexpected places. One anonymous donor was so moved by Melanie's visit that they matched her $50,000 donation to the hospital, doubling the program's funding. Support messages poured in from all over the nation, with people giving art supplies, giving their time, or just saying goodbye to Melanie. The response was probably not at all what she had in mind. Her acts, which began as a private act of compassion, had an impact much beyond the hospital's four walls. Despite her discreet entrance, devoid of cameras or announcements, had turned into a ray of optimism, reminding everyone that even the most modest deeds of kindness may make a big difference, can bring about waves of change. But for the families at St. Mary's, Olivia's mother stated that seeing their kids smile again was more important than the media or the news, even if only briefly. As the weeks stretched into months, Melanie's visit's effects persisted throughout St. Joseph's Children's Hospital, where the art therapy program became a vital component of the facility's all-encompassing approach to care. Olivia's tree mural served as a vivid reminder of what creativity and hope could accomplish, and new murals started to emerge, each one distinct and brimming with the personalities of the kids who painted it. Olivia's condition started to get better, and as her self-assurance increased daily, she started acting as a mentor to the program's younger participants. She once told a group of kids gathered in the art room that art isn't just about making something pretty. It's about showing the world how you feel even when words can't express it. The hospital staff noticed a change in the kids' families as well. Parents who had previously felt powerless started to join their kids in art sessions, creating alongside them and finding a new way to connect during the most trying times of their lives. It's as if she lit a spark. At a hospital fundraiser, a parent said, "Now that spark is lighting up all of us." This is the story's lesson wasn't overlooked by those who heard it. Melanie's visit was about meeting people where they were and showing them that kindness doesn't always require a large audience to be effective. Sometimes the smallest deeds have the biggest effects. It wasn't about big gestures or public attention. When you're in a position like this, you begin to realize what really matters. It's not about who you are or how much you have, but rather about what you're willing to offer and when you give with your heart. As Emma's mother put it best in an interview, it transforms everything. Many people outside of Chicago were moved by the tale of Melanie's visit, which motivated them to take compassionate action and kindness among their local areas. The most significant lesson, according to one of the hospital's art therapists, is that kindness is something we can all choose to share every day, regardless of who you are or what you do. Teachers started art therapy sessions in schools. Organizations started similar programs in hospitals across the nation, and individuals found small ways to brighten the lives of those around them. Melania Trump's surprise visit to St. Joseph's Children's Hospital is a compelling example of how even the tiniest deeds of compassion can have a big impact, far more than we could have ever imagined. From a thoughtful donation to a box of painting, supplies or actions inspired optimism in an area where it was frequently difficult to locate. But the tale should not end here. Consider your own life and what modest deed of kindness you may perform today. It need not be a huge one. Sometimes all it takes is a kind gesture, a listening ear, or a simple smile. If the story resonated with you, tell someone who might be in need of some motivation. If you can, think about contributing to a local charity or children's hospital in your area. Together, we can spread compassion and brighten the world a bit, one deed of compassion at a time. For more stories like this one, remember to subscribe to our channel. Please keep in mind that no matter how tiny the gesture appears, you have the ability to change things.